I'll give it a few seconds to go on all
Yeah,
the channels and get
no problem.
live. So, yeah, how's the weather been? I've heard you guys had a bit of rain yesterday or so.
Oh, we always have rain. It's always raining.
It was supposed to rain at this side as well, but it looks like it has passed us for one or another reason. I'm not complaining. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, I just want to get the banner quickly up there. You still at A2, admin at a2nzimmigration.com, eh?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So that's that. So yeah, we it looks like we're live. Okay. So good morning, Vanita. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good morning, good morning, and good evening to the audience. We're so sorry we're late. We had a few technical difficulties.
Luckily, we can blame not our age, but we can blame the kids.
Yes, I think my son took my laptop last night and messed around with it and streamed some stuff. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Immigration has been, can I say, an interesting area currently.
Interesting, frustrating, everything all together. Good news, obviously, for some people, not so good news for other people, and so on, trying to navigate the whole system. So, Jan, you wanted to talk about those 10 occupations for the trades that have gone onto the green list. So that's happening on the 18th of August.
So
Now,
that's
there's
about a
10.
month's time from now.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So there's two changes on the 18th of August that's happening. So one is the trades going onto the green list, and those are like fitters. It's the trades that are metal fabricators, welders, fitters, and so on. So it's that sort of host of family, as well as paving plant operators, panel beaters, and vehicle painters as well.
Okay.
But there are caveats to that, in the sense that when they go onto the green list, there's a 2-year pathway to residence, but they need to be earning for the welders, or the I should say for the trades, the welders, the metal fabricators, and so on. They need to be earning 1.3 times median wage.
Okay.
And for the vehicle painters, panel beaters, and the plant or paving plant operators, they need to be earning 1.15 of median wage. Now, they need to be earning that for 2 years to be able to do that. Now, the policy is
How
not
much,
out
how much
as
is median wage now?
so. Median wage at the moment for residents is $31.56. It's
Okay.
going to go up on the 18th of August to $33.56. So and this is something I was supposed to calculate, and sorry, it should be in my head, but 1.3 of $33.56 is it four? No, is it 40 something? Sorry, 43 something. I think. Yeah.
43.6, say 63.
Yes, so that's what they need to be earning per hour to be able to
Okay.
be eligible for the 2-year pathway. And then the 1.15 of 33.56 is for the vehicle painters and plant operators. Now, as I said, the policy is not out for us to see if immigration are going to look at it retrospectively or from the 18th of August onwards. Now, last night I was sort of calculating if somebody had their visa or their accredited employer work visa in July 2022, it will pretty much be halfway. So they'll be holding that visa currently for about 30 months when this announcement goes on. And these people are skilled in skilled roles. So a lot of them will have 5-year visas or have the ability to extend the visa to 5 years. So looking at it, and this is just my thinking and logic, as I said, the policy is not out, they may just start counting that work experience or that remuneration from the 18th of August, because 24 months will take those people to 6 months before their visa expires. And within that time, they'll be able to apply for residence because they need to have 24 months of work experience in the 30-month period.
Okay.
If you get what I'm saying. So it's potentially, so I know a lot of people have said, they want to start counting that work experience prior. We're not sure whether it's going to be retrospective or from that date. So just be aware that when
They do it retrospective. I mean,
they do it sometimes because there's a whole median wage calculator, and then there's the 1.5, and the instructions of the policy sort of gives you that way to do it. But again, I don't know what the new policy is going to say. The disappointing thing about this announcement is, Jan, this consultation came out in June or May, June 2020, 2023. And this was when the previous government was in, where they were looking at the 17 occupations. And one of it was, for instance, like fitters, metal fabricators earn 1.3 of median wage? And at that time, this was 2 years ago when we didn't have such a high unemployment rate, we said no. It's not likely, especially in the regions, especially for those people on union or collective agreements, where the government or the unions dictate the hourly rate and so on. These people may not be able to meet the 1.3 of median wage. The disappointing thing is that this government have taken a policy from 2 years ago, just reduced the occupations and put it into they're going to put it into policy now. And looking at the market, looking at where people are, looking at what employers can afford to pay, it's going to be a tough ask for some employers.
I fully agree, but if you look at it's about $90,000 per year.
Yeah.
The
Trades. Yeah, and the thing is, the trades, and this is notorious, don't necessarily earn that sort of salary. They could have 30 years of work experience and be at the top of their trade or their profession itself, but they don't necessarily earn it. And looking at regions and outside of the main city centers, it's quite tough for people to be able to reach that. So I think there'll be some people that will, and there'll be some people that just will not meet the requirements.
That's right. Well, we hope that most of the people can meet the requirements, or that if possible they can have a change in salary and still, at the end of the day, perhaps meet the requirements.
Yeah, and we would be hopeful that would happen. I know that. So while a job title, and I think this is quite important, a job title may call you a fitter, but sometimes the description, the job description, or the tasks and responsibilities may not point to that. It may point to something completely different. Okay. I know that some advisors are going out there and saying, well, we need to change that occupation now to what's on the green list. Immigration don't just look at the title, they will look at the tasks of that role to make sure that you are meeting that, and that's the role of what you do. So please be aware that you can't go and game the system by doing these things, saying, no, I'm a metal fabricator, when you're actually not. Yeah, so just be aware of that. Those are dubious practices.
So if anybody wants to contact Vanita, her email address is just running down at the bottom of the screen. So
Look, what we do sometimes is we actually look at the position description of somebody, and we would say to them, this position description aligns with this ANSCO level, and this is exactly what you do, and give them a report on that. Yep. So we're able to do that quite well and quite objectively, not subjectively, so that you could use in your job checks or your residence application and so on if you're unsure. Okay, so that's something that you should do.
To recap, they are going to need to earn this $90,000 and need to earn that for a period of 2 years at least.
Yes, okay. Correct.
So it's not 10 years of experience needed as well.
No, they're because we take New Zealand work experience, because the residence categories have changed, and it's not sort of like, obviously new people coming in, they have to show a minimum of 2 years work experience in their home country. But when they're in New Zealand, they need to get New Zealand work experience and that skilled work experience and meet that. So 2 years hopefully is something that people will be able to do and, get through the system in that way.
Yeah, that's all good. All good.
Yes. So I was going to talk to you about a few other things. There's some lobbying going around with regards to the English language tests. So NZAMI, which is one of the biggest advisor groups, they are advisors and lawyers that represent the migrant workers as well as the advisors. They're lobbying for the English language test to be reduced. I don't know to what, but they are saying, and Simon Laurent is the chair for NZAMI, and he is saying that the requirements are set too high for what is needed, and so hopefully some changes will come through on that during the course of the year. Fingers crossed on that.
I know of a few guys, and they're not bad workers. They're absolutely some of the best workers you can think of.
Yeah,
struggled for 7, 8, 10 times
Yeah.
rewritten tests.
And Jan, that cost is about $450 every time you do that English test, and it's not cheap at all. And I mean, it's very disheartening for those people to go, well, why can't I pass this, So hopefully that will happen, and we'll see that reduction in the requirements, especially for the principal applicant. Yeah.
Let's hope for the best, eh? Let's hope for the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
That,
Jan, is
that could be regarded as good news, actually.
I hope so. I hope with the lobbying, and everybody behind that, it will go through, and immigration will sort of be reasonable about what their expectations are on
That's
that.
right.
Yeah. With regards to, sorry, is there any questions before I go ahead?
I haven't seen any questions yet, no.
Okay, no problem. So just bear in mind that the new residence requirements on the 18th of August is also going to be $33.56 per hour, and that's what you need to meet to be able to apply for residence. So that's going to be the new median wage that has been delayed for a year, as well as the new residence median wage, because there's just two different median wages that we use currently. We use the median wage for a work visa, which is $29.66, and a median wage for residence, which is $31.56. Just to confuse things. Yeah.
Will immigration check the bank accounts of people?
Absolutely. The amount of work that goes into a residence application is not funny anymore. We have to go through pay slips. And when I talk about weekly, fortnightly, monthly pay slips to make sure that somebody's earning that amount. Yeah. And there's discrepancies that come in when there's overtime. Well, I shouldn't say overtime, but a salaried worker who may have worked more than the required hours, that would dilute the amount of earnings that they would get hourly when you work at it hourly. There's variable hours as well. That's a calculation that we have to work out. There's so many different things that need to be worked out to make sure that that person is meeting the requirements when they come to you, to be able to look at that. They also look at IRD summary. So the IRD summary and what's filed with IRD is looked at. Pay slips. They could request bank statements as well, where they feel that a migrant worker is possibly paying back the money to the employer. Those are the things that they could look at as well.
Question on that hourly rate. Do they need to work 40 hours?
Well, a full-time in immigration law is 30 hours or more. Okay. Now, if the job check says guaranteed hours is 40 hours, then that's what the employer needs to guarantee every single week of them working. Okay. If the employer says 35 hours, then that's the guaranteed hours, but they can work more or additional hours. So that's calculated separately as well. So there's a lot of different things, because we're in the realm of employment law, and it's something that a lot of advisors have to get their heads around. There's also things like where there's unpaid leave that we need to consider, close down of you have the Christmas shutdown and so on, and where somebody may take unpaid leave, that could affect the earnings. So it's a lot of little things that we now need to look at, and that's all on the New Zealand side.
Well, that keeps busy, eh?
Yes, and a lot of learning from us.
I've got a question. Very interesting question. Vanita class are asking, does the benefits count as part of the 3150?
If it's guaranteed benefits, yes. So like, for instance, if you're guaranteed accommodation, if your work allows it, absolutely. Things like, uniform costs are not guaranteed benefits, so no, they're not counted. Things like a cell phone, a car, if it's guaranteed, absolutely. And if you, for instance, if you have the petrol, which like they say it's $500 a month, and that's guaranteed, whether you do whatever mileage, yes, it is counted. So those are the things we need to look at.
Guarantees. Sorry about that.
No
question on guarantees. Does that need to be in the contract with the client?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. It has to be in the contract. I think you've got to work 35 hours or 40 hours, and you get a car worth X amount.
Exactly. Or petrol allowance or accommodation allowance.
Yeah.
So and it's $31.56. Okay, right now. Yeah.
And then don't forget the last 6 cents immigration.
Believe me, it's so important because if you're off the last 6 cents, it makes a huge difference.
I just want to work that out. Renita is going to go to the boss this morning and ask for $124 raise per year now.
Right. And believe me, it sounds funny, but to be honest, it makes a huge difference. I mean, the requirement is $31.56 currently. So if you're less than that, no, it's not going to work.
So you're just asking, so value needed to be added to the benefits. And that's correct, right?
When you're saying value, what do you mean by value? The dollar amount?
They give you, yeah, if they say they give you petrol allowance, I just can't say petrol allowance. They would have to say give you $500.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Because that's all counted. Because as an advisor, you would look at every single thing, and it will show in your pay slips, and it will show in your IRD summary of earnings as well. So that those things need to all be tracked and flow all the way through.
So you could be paying tax on stuff like the car.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so absolutely.
Asking the car for work, for example.
Yes.
So yeah, that's got to be.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
How would you work on a vehicle? That's just an interesting thing. Let's say that the boss gives me a vehicle worth $50,000.
Yeah. Sometimes they say a vehicle allowance, which allows you to use that for work and maybe some personal, because it depends, what the company says. Sometimes they just say it's only for work, right? Okay. And they break that down because for a company, I think it's a fringe benefit tax to be able to do that, and they get taxed separately as well. So the company or HR will work out how that works. So they're obviously not going to give you 50,000. It's a percentage because they're going to depreciate. They're going to do all these things, So
they're basically going to say you've got $1,000 per month or per week or whatever.
Or even for the year, they could say $10,000 vehicle allowance, which they would give to either they'd pay it probably over the 26-week period. They'll pay that $10,000, but that's guaranteed. So that is a benefit that you can count towards your earnings.
So if I need $90,000 for residency now,
yeah,
I can only earn physically 80,000 plus the 10,000 of the vehicle. Is that right?
It's still so even though it's 80,000 plus the 10,000 for the vehicle, it will still be counted as 90,000 because that's what you're really getting paid, and that's your guaranteed income. Yeah.
All right. Beverly Rose is sending us this message for those that are currently on a residency pathway. Okay, so they're already on a residency pathway. Do you have to start earning the new 1.5 median wage on the 18th of August, or do you just have to meet that wage when you apply for residency?
So we've looked at this extensively, and we've also asked immigration because this is new sort of areas for us. Now, I'm presuming that Beverly is relying on income to gain her. They're gonna do 3 years of work experience in New Zealand, giving them 3 points, and 3 years of income, giving them points. Okay, of three. So the way immigration have looked at it and the way the policy is written, I've looked at some of the appeals as well and how immigration are assessing it. So you need to be earning 1.5 at the start of your employment or whenever you started earning that with your employer. Okay. When the median wage increases, the employer does not need to necessarily increase that to keep up with the median wage of 1.5. Okay. But when it comes time to applying for residence, you need to meet the requirements again. So you don't need to meet it in the middle. You need to meet it at the beginning and at the end. Yeah. Now, the one thing is there's a whole lot of other things that they take into account for this earning of 1.5. Is the job skilled? If the job is not skilled, you need to be earning 1.5 of median wage throughout the 3 years.
Ooh, okay.
But if it is skilled, like for instance, a metal fabricator, then yes, you can earn it at the beginning and meet it at the end. So there's a lot of tricks. So you really, and believe me, when immigration look at it, they will look at the role and say, we don't agree that this role is skilled, and they may not count the points for that, or they may say, you don't meet it, so you can't count that time of work experience because you didn't earn that amount. So you've got to be very careful because believe me, while it looks very simple, there's so many tricks to it, and the skilled residence for 6 points is probably the most trickiest.
It's interesting, and it's interesting the way they look at it as well.
Yes.
It's not open
I've
and it's
so,
not very easy to understand that always.
so I run a workshop. So I'm an NZAMI facilitator, and I run a workshop for skilled residents. And I've looked at various or a lot of IPT cases where there's been appeals, once people have lodged residence, and this is on the new residence category. And I teach this to the industry. And believe me, when people go through this, they go, oh my God, I didn't realize that I need to consider so many things. And we're realizing more and more that there's so many bits and pieces that we need to know, and you need to be very, very thorough with somebody coming to you.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you can easily slip up anyway along the
yeah.
line, especially if you think about doing it yourself.
Yes. So I'll tell you, and this is something that I wanted to talk to you about, is there's been changes to the immigration policy last month, June, about the fairness and natural justice process that immigration follow. And the reason why they've changed this is to allow them. So they've said that this is not actually policy. This is just an opinion. Okay. So the reason why they've changed this is because they can decline applications without with their opinion as such, not objectively according to policy.
Okay.
And they've done this because and it's more around temporary visas, so that they can actually decline visas much easier now without, or with giving a reason, but without having to follow policy. So I'll give you an example. When a person comes in to visit New Zealand, they come in and they've got to meet bona fides, meaning they've got to be a genuine visitor. Now, bona fides is an opinion of the case officer. Okay,
Yeah.
so if the case officer feels you are not a genuine visitor, you are going to overstay, they don't necessarily need to give you their reasons why. It's their gut feel, right? And this is what they're doing now in terms of policy change for temporary visas.
Okay.
So just be very aware that if you're doing your extensions, or I shouldn't say extensions, but your maximum continuous stay from a 3-year accredited employer work visa to 5 years, just getting the two additional years, just be very careful about how you present information, what information you present as well, and where you are and whether you're eligible or not. So just be very careful about that.
I've got some other news in on the front of the South African Home Affairs. I
Okay.
don't know how good the news is. It appears to be the truth. So
Yeah.
presumably they are starting in Australia and New Zealand and the UAE by this month, and that will be to open different areas where you can get your passports and those type of things faster.
Yes, I've seen that as well. And I've seen that announcement from Home Affairs as well.
Yeah.
So I think they're trialing it right now in Auckland, and they're using VFS to verify the passport. So it's good for people, rather, to instead of, traveling all the way to Wellington, and getting an appointment. Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know whether those appointments are going to be any quicker, because right now it's like 18 months to get a new
Yeah.
passport.
No, the problem is that if you get an appointment now, it's only in 2027.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I mean. So just to get the appointment is only in 2027. And then how long are they waiting for passports? Is it like another 6-7 months?
Oh, until there's enough to be sent back. So that could be 6 months. It could be a year.
I was talking to a colleague of mine who is a Chinese national, and he said to me, China, what they do is they actually have a passport printing service in country, either in Australia or New Zealand. So their nationals don't need to wait that long. They can renew their passports, and the passports are printed, in New Zealand. And that's what we really need, is another passport printing service elsewhere.
Well, except that, Vanita, we've got the internet these days. I do understand South Africa is not on the same par as us yet, but we
Yeah.
do have the internet. You can take all the biometrics here and send it via internet to South Africa, and it'll be there within a few seconds. Not with the post Dave or the bushman with the stick running through the bush. So,
But Jan, but that's only if electricity is working in the bloody country, right? So that's the other thing.
So the printing press could be a good reason why it's not working because there's no electricity.
I'll tell you what, a printing press is ancient here in New Zealand and every other first world country, but in South Africa, you probably could make a fortune with a
Oh yeah,
printing press.
I probably think there's somebody in the shack that's got a printing press that's making a fortune. So
There's one other thing I wanted to talk about is convictions or criminal offendings when you're on a resident or permanent resident visa. Now, so a lot of people, and we see this a lot, where people are either caught drink driving or over the limit or whatever they may have done. And sometimes people feel that, oh, I've got residence or permanent residence and it can't affect my my ability to stay in New Zealand. The law is very strict. The immigration law is very strict. You can't really offend in the 10 years of being, of holding that resident visa or permanent resident visa. And if you do offend, for instance, even if it's a small criminal conviction of driving over the limit, and it could be just a small over the limit, it triggers a deportation liability notice and you could be deported. You would need to get that, you would need to look for a discharge without conviction, but it's still pleading guilty. And then you need to get your deportation notice cancelled. It costs a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of stress. And we've seen a lot of this happening now, especially with those people that had got 2021 residence granted. And they sort of, there was no character checks again. There was nothing. And they just feeling a little bit relaxed and they sort of going through and sort of having these offenses. Yeah. So please be very aware that this is major. Please be sensible. Call an Uber if you have had a few to drink.
I promise you that first 5 years of me, although I'm not a drinker, even if I was driving and I heard a police siren, I was thinking, oh shit, what have I done now?
Yeah, exactly.
Normally, so.
Exactly. Until you get citizenship, you are liable for deportation no matter what, and everything carries a cost on that. And it's a problem. So please be aware of those issues.
Yeah. I've got something, just a remark from Vanita then saying he used VFS for his Dutch passport. The appointment was 2 weeks' notice, and it took 2 weeks to have it delivered at his house.
Yeah, and that's that
can be done. So yeah.
Yeah, but that's the Netherlands, right? Doing that, not South Africa, unfortunately, which is really sad. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. So all the best to everybody. If you want to reach out, just even to see if your ANSCO matches or aligns to the new roles and so on, just let me know. Reach out to me. Also, we do provide a 15-minute free consultation for those that are unsure of what they need to do next. Yeah. Okay.
Vanita, thank you very much. It's always been a pleasure to have you on the show, and don't be too hard to your kid this morning.
Because he messed around with my laptop. I don't know what happened, but I apologize for the technical issues we had. So my apologies. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'm just going to pop us out and I'll talk to you afterwards again. Thanks. All right, guys, because that was Vanita once again. Lovely to speak to her and get the latest down. So, yeah, just hang in there and fast wait. All right, we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Bye.